10 years ago, I was in music school studying upright bass, and in the middle I switched to guitar. Now, I didn't know much about the pop world and I came from the classical world, so these are the 10 things I wish I could go back and tell 20-year-old me. Just keep playing for the next 10 years. You will get good. The reason I say that is I spent so much time working for the moment, for the gig that was coming up, the session that was coming up, for classes that I had, and all that was good, but I didn't have a set time for myself to play the music that I was most excited about. And I would go back and tell myself, there's no reason that you can't spend 20 minutes of your practice time every day on the things that matter most to you. The urgent stuff, that's gonna go away, but you're gonna still be a guitar player 10 years from now. Don't wait to start playing slide or working on fingerstyle, whether you need it for a gig now or not, if that's what excites you most. Now, if you need help building your practice routine, click the link below and get my free 5-step guitar practice guide, where I will walk you through exactly how to build a routine that works. Number 2 is that reading music isn't as important as you think. This may not be a misconception that you have, but I came from the classical world, so I thought reading was going to be super important. And I put a lot of time and effort into learning to read sheet music on the guitar. Now, I'm glad I did. It taught me a lot of important skills, but I've not used it to gig. I've played hundreds of gigs over the last 10 years, and I've never been paid to read music. The one time I thought I was going to, it ended up being piano music that was copied and pasted like it was for guitar, and the chords were physically impossible to play. I wouldn't have put so much pressure and emphasis on getting my reading chops so quickly if I knew that it wasn't going to be the most important skill for me landing gigs. Number 3 is learning scale patterns aren't as important as you think they are. I thought that I would learn to play these scales, learn to play these patterns, and boom, I'd be able to shred. But scales and patterns are like learning the alphabet for a language. They're the building blocks, but they aren't the actual words. Licks and riffs, those are the words that we can use to build sentences. This doesn't sound much like music. But this does. Like I said, licks are the words and the sentences of music. By all means, practice scales, practice patterns, but make sure we're applying those to learning licks and real vocabulary in the style of music that we want to play. I say that I practice 1 part scale to every 4 parts lick. We really want to focus on sounding like a native speaker of the style of music we want to play. Number 4 is that most people quit music. Just not quitting is a win. Almost everybody who picks up a guitar one day puts it in the case and never takes it out again. You are winning if you just keep playing. Number 6, I would tell myself that the most important skill to develop is having a good ear. Every great musician in every genre, jazz, rock, pop, classical, they all have a great ear. Trying to learn music with visual tools alone is like trying to learn color theory if you're a painter via an audio course. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not how the art is made. Now, visual references, tabs, chords over lyrics, even standard notation can be great for what they're great for. And that's bridging the gap, reminding us how something goes that we already know what it sounds like. But when we're reading a chord over lyric sheet and it tells us to play a G chord, it's not going to tell us whether we're supposed to play this G or this G or this G or this G. Only our ear can do that. Number 7 is nobody cares about your tone. Now, that sounds harsh, but let me explain. I spent so much money in the beginning chasing the perfect sound, trying to make up for what I saw as a lack of technical experience with having the nicest, fanciest gear. But the truth is, when you go to a gig, the singer isn't going to care whether you have Eric Johnson sounding tone or good enough tone. And good enough is good enough. People are only going to care if it's distractingly bad. Now, I still chase having great tone. I still spend money on gear, but it's important to know the motivation. I'm not buying the new pedal because somebody at the gig is going to notice, but because I'm going to notice, and it's going to give me more creative freedom. Number 8 is similar to the last one. You almost never need the gear that you think you need. If you've got a delay or a reverb pedal, if you've got an amp or even a modeler, if you've got maybe a way to add a little bit more grit to your sound, you have everything that you need for almost every gig. A lot of us think if we're playing a church gig, we have to have a big Sky, or to get a Marshall stack if we're playing a rock gig, or to have a deluxe reverb if we're playing on that indie band's new record. But the truth is, the gear we have almost always will get the job done. And even if it won't, we need to be making music with the gear we have. How many of you have waited to write the song, to record the part, to audition for the band until you felt like you had the perfect gear? I know I've done that so many times, and every time it was a mistake. Leave a comment below and let me know when you've been waiting to make music because you thought you needed more gear. Number 9, you never arrive. I've been making music for a long time, and I'm here to tell you that the mountain that you're climbing every day keeps getting higher and higher. Every time we learn something new, we sit down to practice, we make a recording, we play a gig, we listen to a new record. We find something new that we want to learn on the instrument. But that's also part of the beauty of playing guitar. Every day we pick up the instrument, we get to learn something new and beautiful. The journey never ends. Number 10 is no one really cares how great of a musician you are. Sure, there's a baseline level of professional competence you need to have to land most gigs. But most of the time, the person who's the most fun to hang out with is the person who's going to get the gig, not the person with the best chops. Time and again, I find myself hiring the drummer that I want to hang out with during the breaks at the gig over the one with the best chops who may show up late again. Now, if you're like I was and you buy way too much gear and you need help recovering from gear acquisition syndrome, or GAS, click this video, watch me talk to my friend Ryan, a professional top call bassist who's gigging every week with a bass he paid $60 for.